Alright, look, we really need to talk about how homophobic Mark is. Like, this man saw two gay dudes robbing a bank and thought, nah, this one's personal. Not once, but twice. And Oliver, right there with him. He's like 8 and he's already got this energy to him. The Grayson family might be Earth's best defense, but they are also deeply sick individuals. This wasn't about crime prevention. This was a hate-fueled rampage, and I will not be convinced otherwise. But on a serious note, we're only a few episodes in, and things are already getting messy. If you haven't caught up, this is your final spoiler warning. Go watch the show, then come back, because we're about to dive deep. Probably should have said that earlier, but hey, here we are. Now, before we get into the real drama, let's take a second to acknowledge Mark actually securing a W for once. This man finally pulled his invincible ass together and locked things down with Eve. After that fumble in episode 1, I thought we were in for another full season of annoying, drawn-out, will they, won't they nonsense, and I just can't stand it. Thankfully, we dodged that bullet. Mark and Eve are finally happening, and honestly, it's about goddamn time. The chemistry has been there since season 1, and I was so tired of watching them dance around it. But let's be honest, this is Invincible. Happiness is fleeting, and this relationship absolutely going to be put through the ringer. Mark is already dealing with too much, and the universe does not let this man rest. So, while I want to be happy for them, I already know bro is not going to be a happy camper. Though before we move on to how useless Immortal is, if you guys like this type of content, subscribe so I know, and I will keep doing things like this moving forward. In the meantime, what has Immortal actually accomplished? He just spends his time hating on Mark, riding Cecil's schlong, losing every fight he's in, and simping for Duplicate. And speaking of Duplicate, can we also talk about the level of delusion this woman has? She faked her own death and was genuinely shocked when people were mad about it. Like, bitch, what did you think was going to happen? Did you think they were just going to be like, oh my god, you're alive, that's so cute? I just can't stand either of them. They're actually perfect for each other. Now, why did I call this video Civil War? Simple. If you've been paying attention, you already see the parallels. Cecil is dead set on keeping heroes in check so they don't go rogue. Mark, not rocking with that at all. And what makes this so good is that there's no clear-cut right side. This is messy, complicated, and real. Cecil knows what happens when a hero snaps. He saw Omni-Man turn Earth into a UFC octagon, wiping out entire cities like it was like cardio, and now the guy left in charge of protecting Earth is Omni-Man's kid, so on some level you can't fully blame him for being paranoid. But the way he went about it, insane. Cecil really woke up one day and said, you know, let me resurrect a bunch of dead heroes, build an army of flesh-eating zombie cyborgs, and then casually let Mark know I put a bomb in his head. Like it's a normal Tuesday. Dude, be so for real. Like, he thought that was going to make Mark trust him. At no point did this man even try to de-escalate the situation. It's like dragging someone into a dark alley, flipping on a flashlight and going, hey, just a heads up, we implanted a kill switch in your spine, but don't worry about it. What's the play here, man? And after all that, he just tells Mark to leave. Bro, come on. What was he actually thinking? The moment he sent an army of Reanimen after Mark when he tried to warn the Guardians, it was over. Cecil literally proved Mark right the second he made a move. So, of course, when battle lines were drawn, Cecil had no one to blame but himself. And Mark, he did the only rational thing here. He ran straight to Robot to get that chip out of his head. And the fact that Cecil couldn't even control the Reanimen, that just proves he's not nearly as in control as he thinks. Oh, and let's talk about something even crazier. This all happened in one day. Not even a, hey, let's sleep on it moment. No 24-hour cooldown period. Cecil hit Mark with the worst trust-breaking reveal of all time, and then acted shocked when Mark didn't just roll over and say, oh yeah, no problem, big guy. But it gets worse. Cecil's flashbacks, they make him look like the biggest hypocrite alive. Back in the day, young Cecil was literally Mark, idealistic, unwilling to compromise, dead set on doing the right thing. He had principles, he questioned authority, and he stood against morally great decisions. He even kept his scars as a reminder of what happens when you cross the line. So if that's the case, What happened? How did he go from "I refuse to let those in power make choices for me" to "I will literally implant bombs in superheroes and turn the dead into my own personal army"? It's wild because if Cecil had just taken 2 seconds to remember who he used to be, maybe, just maybe, he wouldn't have blindsided Mark with the worst news of his life like a goddamn villain. If he had talked to him, if he had explained why he did what he did, if he had built trust instead of expecting blind compliance, this could have played out so differently. But nope, he went full dictator mode and then had the audacity to act shocked when Mark said, "Yeah, I'm good, dog." At this point, the flashbacks aren't just there to add backstory. They exist to show us that Cecil has become exactly the kind of leader he used to fight against. And the worst part, this whole situation was preventable. If Cecil had just treated Mark like a human being instead of a walking threat, this war wouldn't even be happening. But he didn't, and now Earth is officially screwed. Now, beyond that whole situation, Oliver's journey this season is really interesting because he's a straight up demon. While Mark is out here desperately trying to instill some kind of moral compass in him, Oliver still has that Viltrumite dog in him, and it's showing more and more with each episode. The thing with Oliver is that he's not just some overpowered sidekick learning the ropes. He's a wild card, a kid raised in a completely different context than Mark. He didn't grow up with human values drilled into him. He didn't go to high school, have friends, or even experience what it's like to be a regular teenager. His entire existence has been about survival and dominance. So when you take that background and mix it with Viltrumite DNA, you get an absolute menace. Just look at what he did to the Mauler twins. They thought they were about to cook something up with their discount doomsday machine, and then Oliver showed up and absolutely folded them. No hesitation. He didn't think, didn't hold back, didn't even try to de-escalate. He just snapped. And then he has the nerve to say, "I didn't mean it." Nah, bro, you definitely meant it. Talking about some accident. Nah, my birth was an accident. This was an act of passion. And that's what makes Oliver so dangerous. He has zero sense of restraint. He's not holding himself back the way Mark does. Every time Mark fights, you can see him struggle with the weight of his own strength. He hesitates. He pulls his punches. Even when he's backed into a corner, there's still a part of him clinging to the idea that he doesn't have to become like his father. Oliver doesn't have that problem. To him, strength is everything. You win or you lose. You kill or you get killed. And it's not like he's actively trying to be evil. He just genuinely doesn't understand why he should care about being gentle. And that's exactly why Mark is scared. This season is showing us that Oliver isn't just some little brother side character. He's something else entirely, and he's at a crossroads. Either Mark somehow manages to hammer a sense of humanity into him before it's too late, or Oliver keeps going down this road and becomes a whole new problem for Earth down the line. Moreover, the Guardians of the Globe continue to be the biggest frauds in superhero history. If we're keeping it real, they've never been good. The original team got absolutely packed up by Omni-Man in episode 1, and this new team, somehow worse. Because Black Samson and Shrinking Ray, bench players at best. Immortal loses every fight. Duplicate is a discount shadow clone jutsu with zero impact. The only reason anybody still bothers to fight them is because Mark keeps showing up. Otherwise, these guys will get wiped off the face of the earth in seconds. And also, how funny is it that villains actually get disappointed when they see the Guardians coming? The Mauler twins spent so much time designing a trap for Mark only to end up fighting the dollar store Justice League. At this point, the Guardians should just rebrand, maybe stop pretending to be Earth's last line of defense and start a security firm or something. Speaking of villains, is anyone else tired of Doc Seismic's old ass? Like, bro, take a nap, retire, do something other than popping up every season with a new underground monster squad like it's gonna work this time. We get it, you hate the surface world, but at this point, you're just a glorified mole man with a vendetta. And the worst part to me is that he somehow keeps escalating. First, he's just ranting about capitalism and throwing rocks. Now he's got a whole ass subterranean army. And for what? Does he even have a plan beyond shake things up and hope for the best? Because it really doesn't seem like it. Honestly, if I were a villain in this universe, I'd be embarrassed to be in the same category as this guy. You've got actual threats like Omni-Man, Battle Beast, or Thrag. And then there's just Doc Seismic, the dude whose biggest flex is giving the tectonic plates a headache. Just Just pack it up, bro. I don't want to see you anymore. Now, I haven't really focused on how Mark has been struggling this season. Not just with the whole Cecil putting a bomb in his head thing, but with his identity as a hero in general. Season 1 was about him realizing how powerful he was. Season 2 was about the weight of those powers and trying to be his own person outside of Omni-Man's shadow. But Season 3 is making him question if he even wants to be Earth's hero anymore. Mark's dealing with betrayal on all sides. He thought Cecil had his back, but that trust is now completely gone. He thought he could lean on the Guardians, but they're too busy being discount Avengers to be of any help. And even in his personal life, he's struggling to balance being there for Eve while also trying to prevent Oliver from going full Viltrumite murder machine. What's crazy is that in any other superhero story, this would be the moment where Mark would find his true calling, where he rises to the occasion and proves to the world that he's more than his father. But Invincible isn't that kind of show. Instead, Mark is being put through the emotional ringer and the cracks are starting to show. The anger, the frustration, the resentment, it's building. At this point, Invincible Season 3 is basically throwing hands with everyone. Heroes, villains, the government, even Mark's own sense of morality. Cecil is one bad decision away from turning into a full-blown supervillain. Mark is more isolated than ever and running out of people he can trust. Oliver is 5 seconds away from being Earth's next major threat, and the Guardians of the Globe, well, they're not really doing anything. And we haven't even gotten to the real problem yet, because while Mark is busy dealing with Cecil's backstabbings, the Guardians being useless, and Oliver trying to unlock the Viltrumite Hokage form, the actual war is coming. The Viltrumite Empire is still out there. Thrag hasn't made his move yet. Nolan is still biding his time in deep space, and when they do show up, all of this infighting, the petty superhero beefs, none of it is going to matter, because when that happens, when the real war starts, Mark isn't going to have the luxury of arguing over trust issues or Cecil's moral compass. He's either going to be strong enough to fight back, or he's going to watch Earth burn. And right now, he is not ready. So if you guys enjoyed this video, consider liking and commenting what you think of the first few episodes, and let me know if you'd want me to do this recap after every week. As for now, that wraps up this video. Thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, take care.